Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join us for the flag salute? Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to report out on our closed session. We will reconvene closed session after this since we didn't finish all the items. But I think do we have a motion for item A?
Yes. I move that we deny the claim against Carpinteria Unified School District by Cameron Mesa.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so item B and item C, we will reconvene in the closed session and report out after that. Move on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion there?
I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of March 22nd, 2016.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, move on to the approval of the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll move that we approve this agenda and the consent agenda.
Second.
This is a roll call.
Alicia?
Aye.
Jacqueline?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Okay, we'll move on to Anna for our student rep report. Welcome.
Hi, yeah, thank you. So, Carpinteria Children's Project. The Carpinteria Children's Project will host a data review and improvement planning lunch meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, April 13th from noon to 1 for the Thrive Carpinteria Partner Network. Staff and leaders from now 13 county-wide agencies and some principals will be there to contribute to the continued growth of the network's ability to enable Carpinteria children and families. Parent conferences will be held for our children in our early childhood education on or around April 20th. Scheduling of appointments has begun. Aliso. On Friday, April 8th, Aliso's first 5th grade students participated in an interactive water conservation presentation by Shows That Teach. Students sang songs, acted, and thoroughly enjoyed learning about the water cycle and ways to conserve water. The production was sponsored by the Carpinteria Water District and the Santa Barbara County Water Agency. Aliso School will be hosting a principal's tea on April 13th, 2016 at 8:15 a.m. Ms. Manier will be encouraging parents to create an email address, if they do not already have one, to facilitate the use of Aries portal system to update registration information for each student next year. On April 13th, Catalino's 4th and 5th grade students will be visiting the Arlington to enjoy the wonderful Alvin Ailey American Dance program. On April 15th, many of the Aliso Lions will be attending the Carpinteria District Battle of the Books. On April 21st, Aliso will be hosting Aliso Family Science Night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please join them for an exciting and engaging hands-on scientific explorations. Aliso's expectation focus this month is being safe. Students and educational team members have created videos and pictures of students following their safety expectations at different locations on campus. They will be posted on the school website this week. Aliso is currently in planning mode for their inaugural BC Familia, or bike night at Aliso School, coordinated with Coast. It will be on Friday, May 20th, starting at 5 p.m. and ending at 7:30 p.m. Tostada dinner will be coordinated and served by the ELAC group from 5 to 5:45 p.m. in our cafeteria. There will be a bike safety presentation followed by a safe biking practice on the blacktop and ending with a community ride. Low-cost helmets will also be sold for $10 each. So get on your bike, put on your helmet, and take a ride to Aliso School. Canalino. Families came out to join Canalino on Saturday, April 9th for Canalino Beautification Day, sprucing up the campus to show the students how valued their place of learning is to all of the adults. Canalino 5th graders will enjoy a presentation from Mr. Merritt from Carpinteria Middle School on April 13th, followed by the whole grade attended the Alvin Ailey dance performance at the Granada Theater, thanks to generous funding from the Children's Creative Project. That same evening, Canalino's TK and kindergarten team will present kindergarten orientation night for incoming families at 6 p.m. This event will be simultaneously interpreted. Canalino is proud to host this year's Battle of the Books. The event starts at 8 a.m. in the cafeteria, and 43 students from CUSD, grades 3 through 6, are participating in this event. Mrs. Pursoon is bringing a team to the United Way event, United for Literacy, on April 21st, to learn more about English language development in our English learners. April 20th is a minimum day for students to allow for staff development. Summerlin School. The Summerlin School students enjoyed a beautiful orchestra performance at Kate School on Wednesday, April 6th in their generous stained glass chapel. Special thanks to the Kate students and Mr. John Nett, who graciously hosts the scholars each year. The inaugural Summerlin School Science Night was a fantastic success last Wednesday night. Students especially enjoyed the UCSB Physics Circus, who used liquid nitrogen for numerous experiments and displayed different forms of energy. The 4th and 5th grade class students presented their science experiments, and Ms. Fruden provided students with a science activity involving a floating or sinking boat. A great time was had by all the Saturday's annual Summerlin School Social last Saturday. The cakewalk, nature-based crafts, and photo booth were enjoyed by all the students. The 4th and 5th grade students will travel to the Arlington Theater for the Alvin Ailey dance performance. The students and team are very much looking forward to this sure-to-be fantastic performance. The next Parents for Summerlin meeting is on April 15th at 8:30 a.m. at the Presbyterian Church. The Summerlin School Scholars are gearing up for our all-school musical, The Wizard of Oz. Mark your calendars for the 2 performances June 3rd at 6:30 p.m. and June 4th at 1 p.m. at CCPM, as it is certain to be a very special performance. Carpinteria Family School. On April 6th, Carpinteria Family School held its second informational night for prospective parents. On April 13th, the school will hold its last tour of the school, which will be followed on April 22nd, with the school lottery held in the district office. The 2nd through 5th graders will be attending the Arlington Theater to see Alvin on April 13th. On April 14th, the 4th and 5th graders journey to the UCSB Chemistry Lab. On April 19th, students in the 5th grade visit Carpinteria Middle School. 3rd through 5th graders are taking the CAASPP interim and practice tests to prepare for the state testing in May. After-school programs. This is district-wide. After-school program coordinators are currently holding regular meetings to dream, brainstorm, and plan a youth voice and leadership project that will start during the 2016 through 2017 year. The project will be a grassroots effort to increase the voice of local youth in the planning and implementation of after-school programs. Positions on the leadership councils will offer our students a platform for leadership development, community engagement, and multi-school connectedness. Leadership council structures will provide after-school students an opportunity to serve in leadership from 1st grade until they graduate from high school, fostering circular mentor-like relationships between high school, middle school, and elementary school age students. Carpinteria High School has paired up with the Jensen's Music Foundation of Santa Barbara and the Santa Barbara Bowl to provide acoustic guitar lessons to Carpinteria High School students after school. The Santa Barbara Bowl has awarded a grant to Jensen's Music Foundation to pay for a music instructor and has provided acoustic guitars, guitar cases, and music stands for Carpinteria High School students. The ASP hopes to start the pilot workshop at CHS this month, and Jensen's Music Foundation plans to expand these private guitar lessons to all Carpinteria schools next year. It is an exciting opportunity to cultivate musical talent among students who may not even discover this talent themselves without these free, high-quality lessons. CMS. On April 13th, 20 families from CMS's English Learner Advisory Committee will meet in the library for the Latino Literacy Project. Each family is reading Graciela's Dream, a story of a first-generation immigrant, and discussing it each week for 6 weeks. The counseling team and Mr. Merritt will be visiting all the elementary schools and providing the 5th grade students with information about their upcoming visit to CMS. On April 14th, CMS will have their annual open house band concert at 5:30, followed by their open house event at 6 p.m. Come by and see the work of the students. On April 15th, CMS is having their first Sidewalk Chalk Art Festival for Activity Day. The theme will be nature. Shirley, the guest artist, demonstrated amazing chalk techniques by producing a beautiful red hawk in the courtyard. It will be a messy but very fun day. Next week, CalSoap is helping CMS bring 58th graders to Westmont for a tour to learn about their offerings. On April 21st, the Avid students invite their families to the library for college night. Students will be showing off their college research projects. Rincon and Foothill High School. Spring break gave staff and students at Rincon and Foothill High Schools a brief pause before the end of the year activities, and it continues to be a busy season for the students. On April 13th, students and parents will fill up the Rincon classrooms and come together for a meal for the Rincon and Foothill Open House, starting at 6 p.m. Parents will get a picture of all the students and teachers have accomplished this year, and there is much to be proud of. John Daly continues to work with our Rincon High School students by way of the Key class, working students to help them present their best selves in professional and academic settings. Rincon administration and staff met with seniors last week to discuss end-of-the-year activities and graduation. In just less than 2 months, seniors will be receiving their high school diplomas, closing the chapter, and moving on to the rest of their lives. It's amazing that Rincon and Foothill High Schools are this close to the end of the year already. And to follow the end-of-the-year activities and get an inside glimpse of all that is happening, please follow them on Facebook. CHS. This Saturday, April 16th, is the CHS annual Russell Cup track meet. The school's athletes have been working really hard and cannot wait for this home event. And any support helps this all-day event. Sunday, April 15th, is a fundraiser for the Carpentier High School softball team. The fundraiser is a cut-a-thon, where volunteers from the Miramar Salon on Linden will be providing haircuts that include a full wash and dry for only $25. This event will be taking place at the Miramar Salon from 10 to 5. And April 22nd is the end of our second grading period. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. A lot going on like usual.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Anna, I just wanted to compliment you
Yeah.
on your hostessing of the Girls Inc. luncheon.
Thank you so
You
much.
did a really fabulous
Thank you
job.
very much,
And
yeah.
it was very emotional.
Oh,
So
thank you.
we're very proud to have you be a student of our school district.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to item 2, dual language immersion program plan Maestro, and we have some more information. Are we?
Slips.
We have some speaker slips.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. Hello, my name's Sandy Beard, and I was a teacher in this district for 32 years. I taught under all of the models of bilingual education that since their inception, so I have that experience. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to come to the board meetings before now where dual language immersion has been discussed, because I would have loved to have been in on that discussion, but I was out of town because I'm retired now. And Anna was my student in first grade, so it's a delight to see her again. And I had her sister also. But I wanted to thank you, first of all, for taking the time to really look at this model of dual language immersion, taking your time, scrutinizing it, looking at every side of it, because it's so crucial for any new program in a district. And I have been following all of that, even though I haven't been here. And I'm asking for your commitment today to the model, because I've looked at it and I think it's excellent based on the different models that have been taught in the district. I think it's a really workable model. It's just excellent, and it what I really like about it is that it works on developing advanced language learning at an early age, and that's when it's really crucial. And we already have exceptional teachers in our district that are bilingual and that can do this really well. And I believe that if if you support, as a board and administrators, if you support the program, I feel like it would have a really positive effect on the development of the students and also on the unification of the teachers and the students and the parents in the program. So anyway, I just guess I'm asking for your approval tonight because I would really love to see it implemented this fall, because age is of such an important thing at that early age. Active instruction is really crucial to it being a success the earlier you can start. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello again. Thank you for your time. I just want to kind of cover some things that I've talked about ad nauseum now, but I think there still remains questions that are unanswered. I think they need to be resolved before this gains your approval. Staffing, I know we've talked about a lot. I think that the district did a survey of the teachers that had a BCLAD or bilingual authorization. I haven't heard what that would be. Hopefully we'll hear tonight. But going back to Rosa Molina, who's the director of the ATDLE program, the BCLAD is really the step in to be interviewed for these positions. You need native-like language abilities in the target language, and she recommends that most districts complete an interview and or model a lesson in Spanish for the interview team. I mean, it's critically important that these teachers not only have a BCLAD or bilingual authorization, but that they're willing and able and have these native-like abilities to provide education to our students. I checked the website today and still can't find a Spanish version of the master plan for a program that targets roughly 66% of students from Spanish-speaking homes. Not to have this plan available in their language, I think, is a disservice. They're being asked to apply in 3 days to this program without the ability like I had or English-speaking parents have to read the plan and try to understand it and to come to their own conclusions. Class cap remains a concern. I'm not sure how that hurdle will be overcome. If you're lucky enough to get into the program, you're golden. You've got a 24 class cap that will likely only dwindle since it can't increase after first. And the students that either opt out of the program or not to participate or aren't lucky enough to get in will have to bear the burden of increased class sizes or combo classes or some kind of juggling to make that work. As I said before, I do believe that this plan has merit, and I think it could be a great service to the community to implement it. But I think that implementing it as it stands now, as it's been presented, would be a disservice and would be setting it up for failure with these questions still remaining. I ask that you please give staff adequate time to properly implement this program to ensure the successful rollout. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Steinman. I've spoken before, but not directly to dual language immersion. I wanted to come and say, because of previous things that I've said, I might have been seen as being against it. I would like to say that I'm not. I'm actually quite for dual language immersion. I've been a skeptic, and looking at what could go wrong and what goes right, but everybody around me has convinced me that this is a good thing. It is right for the community. And so I encourage you to go forward with this because it is of minimal extra cost and it will improve the people in our community. So the being able to speak Spanish fluently will improve the community relations for our group area. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, John.
Great, thank you again, trustees, for this opportunity. Tonight we provide the agenda items so that you can continue your discussion as per the Brown Act in public, and we have a few updates. Simply said, actually some of the questions here this evening. With respect to translating the Plan Maestro and the master plan, we are almost done. We did want to also be respectful of the budget. We could have sent it out and had this done very quickly. It would have been cost prohibitive. And so luckily we have our in-house bilingual teacher who is working on it, and really appreciate and grateful for the support that is there. It's very cumbersome to translate that type of a document into another language. In addition, we did send out an interest survey without any commitment outside of the bargaining agreement, simply to invite teachers to respond and to inform Director Darlene Avalos if they were interested in pursuing this opportunity if it would materialize. And we have had some responses. And Director Avalos?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Miklas. Good evening, Board. I received 4 total. 3 who were interested. 1 was interested in K, 1 was interested in second, and 1 was interested in fourth. I had 1 person who attended the CABE conference, and in learning everything that would be involved, and for personal reasons feels like she is not ready to move that direction, but fully supports the program. And those were all the interests that I received.
Did you say 1K, 1 second, 1 fourth?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Director Avalos. We have held back on scheduling the meeting at Aliso because we also felt that had we done that and pending the outcome, we may be overcommitting and under-delivering, and we didn't want to set up that for failure. And so it was just a professional decision that the team made to hold off. We have continued with the meetings with the parents. It's just that we didn't want to step out too far into Aliso and then end up pulling back if the program were not to be administered there or offered. And we can always add more meetings pending your direction. As far as the other unanswered topics or issues, we're here to provide you with any responses that you still need and to assist in the dialogue.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to start the discussion?
Are there more
More do we have more speakers?
Public comment.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Is it on this topic?
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
While our speaker readies herself, then if I could just also add that I did meet with LISO staff, and they were very forthcoming, and we had a very productive conversation. It was very illustrative with respect to their support conceptually and also some logistical issues that they brought up, which also were some of the topics that you have been discussing here as well. So there were no surprises there. They do appreciate the time that the board is taking as well, as we've heard, that you're being very intentional about this. And on behalf of the teachers, while I want to refrain from identifying every single comment that they shared with me, the value added that I would share is that they're concerned with the long-term English learners that we already have in our school district and what are we doing with respect to their development of English, the combination classes that could unintended impact, and we're trying not to have those anywhere unless it's a small school. Finally, one of the other comments that I would probably share with you has to do with curriculum assessment and instruction in terms of, so then what does that 90% look like exactly? Build that out more. And what types of assessments would the students participate in? How would we monitor their English language development as well as their new language development should their native language be English, for example? So thank you, and I apologize.
Hi, I'm sorry I missed the first comments. I'm Maureen Claffey, and this is my daughter, Maisie. Can you say hi, Maisie? Oh. Maisie's just turned 4, so she would be participating in the dual immersion program, not this fall, but the following fall. I want to just acknowledge the obstacles that you guys have encountered as you've gone through this process and how they've been overcome. The first is obviously the funding. It seems like we can just tick that off the box. Staffing, we heard a lot about the staffing issues in the last meeting, and I think as someone who's the wife of a teacher and also the daughter of a teacher and a former school board member, I thought some of the questions related to staffing were a little bit off point because The principals and the HR can't pursue openings because there's union restrictions, and I don't think it's fair to say, oh, well, they don't have the teachers lined up, we can't go ahead with this program. There's certain union restrictions around open hiring that forces principals to be very careful about inviting teachers into positions. The second point that was made that was, oh, some teachers aren't going to be happy if they get bumped into a different grade level because so-and-so is teaching dual immersion now. And I want to remind everybody that public school teachers are promised a position, not a classroom, and not a grade. So my mom and my husband have both been bumped to various different, classrooms, grades, you name it. They've been very grateful to have a job and to have the benefits that come with working for the public schools. The third thing I want to share really quickly is that is my feeling as a graduate of the Carpinteria school system and how I felt when I got to college and realized that my school was woefully inadequate academically. I felt embarrassed, frankly, when I went into my first English class and got a D back on my first college paper. I had been a star student at Carp High. So Carpinteria continues to lack any sort of strong academic reputation. And not only reputation, but there is no emphasis on the academic needs and livelihood of our students. So Maisie is here, and she's our future. And she, as a girl, I want her to feel like she can do whatever she wants to, but she needs your help to get the academic education that she needs, and that starts with Spanish. And it starts with Spanish in kindergarten. Thank you.
I had a question. It's on our future agenda items, but it's kind of referenced here. Do we have a progress report on our reclassification of English language learners that we could, a ballpark or anything?
We do not.
Okay.
We are not. We are working on, we collect the data, the students are assessed. We can give you basic assessment data, but apart from that, we're struggling a little bit system-wide because we don't really have somebody designated to make sure that the English learner program is in full implementation across the district. And this is one of the challenges I've expressed as far as the staffing with our budget study session with respect to a full-time or part-time person who works in the Division of Ed Services or Curriculum Assessment and Instruction. So we could certainly rely on our principals and our staff. Our principals could bring the data here. However, apart from just the raw data like the California English Language Development Test or the ADEPT, and then teacher exams, which may not be consistent throughout with respect to what we're administering, I would hesitate a little bit still on that.
Okay. Where do we want to start here with the discussion? I'm personally, I think we all are in favor of the program, or at least I'm in favor of the program. I just think there's a lot of questions still out there, and a lot of unintended consequences that we haven't worked out, and that's kind of where I'm. And I don't feel that we've gotten adequate. I don't want to say adequate. We haven't gotten sufficient information to answer those questions, a lot of those questions that I have. So I think in concept, I'm in favor of the program. But I would be in favor, I would be more in favor of implementing it a year from now than this coming fall. That's.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
I'm sure, like all of you, probably this has been a topic on your mind for weeks, if not months. We've been talking about this and looking at it, and I want to agree with Andy that in concept I'm in favor of the program, although I'm not quite sure I'm really ready to say, yes, Carpinteria should absolutely do this, because I agree there are still lots of questions. Good advice that I've heard many times over the years is to go slow to go fast. And I feel like even though I know that the Canalino team has spent a lot of time researching and putting this project together or this program together, and I value their passion and all of the time and effort that they've put into it. I don't think that the rest of us have had that same opportunity to really know whether we are ready to implement this program. And when I don't mean just the board, I think our staff at our other schools and our families at our other schools need the opportunity to really, decide whether this program is good for them. Beyond that, and before I say I'm ready to really commit to this program, which as we all know, is a long-term commitment. This is not something we can say, well, let's just try it for a year. It's beyond that. We're making a commitment to a class of students for a minimum of 6 years. And for a district, it would probably be much longer than that. So this is a long-term commitment that we have to really understand all the impacts that would be put in place. Pros and cons, and we know the benefits to me are really easy to identify for a certain number of kids, and that's what I'm still struggling with. We've received so many emails, and I've appreciated all of them from parents and from staff. One of them in particular was really well written, I thought, and encouraged us to think about what's good for students, obviously. So the thing I have to ask myself is it good for all students? Because my concerns with this program are that the impacts it has on the rest of the kids that would not be in this program. And I said before, and I don't know how to say it in a better way, but I'm really concerned about establishing an elite track for a very limited few in Carpinteria. So I'm struggling with that personally, and it's holding me back from being able to say yes to this. I'm very concerned about impacts that we maybe haven't even identified yet. But one thing I think I'm very concerned about is the creation of combination classes outside of this program. And that's a huge impact on students that would not be in this program. I don't think we really have identified all the costs that are out there. As much as I want to say that the budget isn't an issue, and from what we're looking at right now, $2,000 to the general fund is not huge. But I don't know that we've really identified what all the needs of this program are going to be, whether it's interventions, whether it's academic materials. I just don't feel like we have a real handle on that yet. What else was I thinking about? I was also thinking that as a board, we have identified in the past years our priorities as being class size reduction. We've set priority on academic interventions, and we've set priority on staff support as it relates to Common Core. So I just don't want us to get off of that path. I think we need to be sure that we're not getting fragmented. So those are my concerns right now. So again, I'm not saying that I don't support it. I definitely don't support starting next year. And I don't know that I'm ready to say I would absolutely go for it the following year, but I would be supportive of, more discussion with staff and development within our other school sites to see where the support is. This would be a district program. And I think we have to really have an understanding of what those impacts will be out, if we institute this program. Sorry, I kind of fumbled around there.
Oh, that was very, very good points you brought up.
You want to go next?
Sure. I support the program. Not only do I support the program, I see it in our future. I don't necessarily seeing the application next week. I don't necessarily seeing it happening next year. I have to be honest to say that as much as I so want this I don't think that we should rush into this. And I know the parents and the teachers and the staff who have worked so hard on it. You've gone through the planning, you've done the research, but I think for the rest of us, the staff, we need some catching up to do. We need to plan it out a little. We need to make sure that we have the teachers there, enthusiastic and ready to teach. We need to make sure that there's curriculum set out. We need to see how this program will lead into middle school and high school. But I see it for CUSD. I can see it. I feel it. But I don't feel that we are there yet to implement it next year. I want to say to the parents who have worked so hard on this, I want to thank you for all your hard work, and you've done something great here. You've started something for this community, and I want to thank you for that, to get us rolling on this process. I know it's going to happen for me. I hope.
Just a few things. As time goes by, my mind is up in the middle of the night. It's that time of my lifetime where I'm up most of the night. But with that being said, I was just reviewing here on the vision and the mission statement of the DLI, and one of that being to promote a sense of a unity throughout our community. And I kind of dovetail on what Terry had to say, that if it does become, or it's seen as an elite type of program that our district is offering, it will not promote that sense of community or unity, throughout our community. And a couple other things that keep me up at night thinking about it is, how is that going to be if it's housed at Catalino? Right now, Catalino has, family school, and there's some friction between family school and the regular school. And how is that going to be seen if they all need to have different open houses, one for DLI program, one for family school, one for Catalino regular students? And how is that going to look on their report card? Is DLI going to have a different report card as compared to the Catalino, as compared to, the family school students? So all that separateness isn't really going towards one of the goals of the mission statement, which is a unity throughout the community and our educational community. I, like everybody else here, do support biliteracy and bilingualism. As Sandy knows, my mom, as I've said before, taught Spanish in the school systems for years, and I think that's a great eventual goal. What concerns me also is when Ms. Migla said that we didn't want to step out too much and include and have that meeting at Aliso School, yet we're trying to promote that unity. So it's not really asking those parents in Aliso, hey, come and we'll give you, an informational meeting right here near where you go to school and send your kids to school. Because as we all have to remember, it is not a school program. It's a district program. And I just think that as time goes by, we have more questions that need to be answered for the good of our district, for the good of our children, and for the eventual goals that you guys have set forward here on the vision in the statement for this program. So I agree in that. I think realistically, to think that it's going to come to fruition in 4 days from now and have people sign up for it is being unrealistic. I think maybe another year or so and having our questions answered and having it in black and white, that there is no room for questions because we have all the answers, is a much better goal to reach for at this point.
So bear with us because we all have notes, because we've really seriously been considering this. And so I wanted to kind of start with, again, reflecting on what the role of the board is. We really have kind of three tasks that we're responsible for. First is, and foremost, fiscal accountability for the district. Do we have a responsible and sustainable budget that can be certified 3 years out? And so we take that as our very first lens for everything that we do. And in that, we kind of ask ourselves, again, three filter questions. How can we better support and sustain the initiatives that currently exist and that we love and want to keep? How can we better invest in our dedicated staff members so that they can be more effective and advance our mission? And then finally, what needs to change in our organization as a whole, so that we are more strategic, intentional, and efficient in the use of our dollars. And so when we ask a lot of fiscal questions, that's because, again, that's the lens that we're always looking on. Another role of the board is that we are the eyes, ears, and voice of the community. And I said this at our last meeting. You guys are the ones who put us here and trusted us to make some decisions. We then take those insights that you give us through emails and public comment and all that, and then we share those with our district managers so that they can make those considerations and implementation. And finally, just in case all of you don't know, the board has one employee, and that's the superintendent. And part of our important job of hiring a superintendent is to trust that role in doing the day-to-day operations of a district. So even though it may seem sometimes like the board is in the way, or we're getting into the weeds, that's not our intention. We're just asking questions to help clarify for the public, the general public, and also to help align the district staff's vision with the community's vision so that we're all in alignment. So with that kind of said, again, I believe in the program like everybody else. I have hesitated to vote on it until some questions were answered. Right now, I do not feel like it's in any kind of connection to a district-wide strategic plan that is aligned in the LCAP and therefore in single site plans as well. It feels like we're putting the cart before the horse and again doing things in isolation within the district. However, I do truly believe in the concept of dual language immersion. I think that in the long run it will be a unification strategy for our district and our community. I also want to respect the enthusiasm that the parents in our community have come forward with to make real change and address some very real underlying challenges that we have had in terms of equity and access in this community. But just to kind of get the ball rolling, because I know you guys want some action, I am going to make a motion. I am willing to make a motion to pilot an implementation at Catalino only for 1K and 1 first grade, with the understanding that if there is a time where this will significantly affect our general fund or our operation, that we have as a board the right to revisit this decision, even if it is prior to the completion of the original implementation plan. So we'll open that up for discussion.
Well, I need a second before
Yeah,
we can
okay.
open up for discussion.
Do you have a time frame for the pilot?
I would leave that in the hands of our superintendent and district staff.
I second.
Okay, well, discussion. I have a few comments on that. Once we've started a program, we're committed to it for that at least that 6-year period for those students, because you can't start someone 90% Spanish and then say, okay, we can't afford this anymore, or it doesn't fit into our program, and pull the rug out from under them, because then they're going to be, all those students are further behind. So this is a 6-year minimum commitment to anything we approve. I mean, that's the first issue, concern I have with approving any sort of plan that we're piloting without working out a lot of these other issues that have been raised.
Yeah, I'm personally not comfortable starting a pilot program when I have so many questions still about the impacts. And what I didn't bring up before tonight that I've brought up before is I have a huge concern about class sizes of 24 that will only dwindle over the years. I'm not ready to say that we start a pilot program. That's my personal feeling. I loved what you had to say, Michelle, about, this needs to be looked at in light of the LCAP and the school site plans. I think that's a way to approach it with our school sites. But I think that needs to be done. And we as a board need to understand the impacts, financial. We need to understand the academic impacts, not only for those students that are in the DLI program, but those who are not, and whether that means combination classes, whether it means impacts on school sites as far as size. We've talked about looking at boundaries. I think that all needs to be done in conjunction if we're going to start this program. So I think what you said about putting the cart before the horse is completely appropriate, and I'm not ready to move forward yet.
Other further discussion?
I have reservations, like y'all presented, but I feel so strongly that this is a program that will benefit our students, and I think if it was to be implemented in the year 2017-18, that's skipping a year, that we have give staff the opportunity to work through some of the issues that have been presented. So while I still have some concerns, I am optimistic that staff will able to work through some of those issues, and I am supportive of a pilot program. My concern by not taking step is that we will stall this process, that we won't move it along. Mm-hmm. I would like to give staff some sort of basis to continue working and resolving the issues. And I'm concerned that if we don't take action, that we don't give enough clear direction to staff to keep on moving with this too.
So, Jacqueline, how do you see this in the future? As you just look at our demographics and what it takes. The demographics it takes to make up a DLI class. So we know right off the bat we can never offer this to all of our students because we can't meet those proportions that you need in the classes. So I have concerns again about an elite program for 24 to 48 students out of a class of 150 or more.
I think right now there are choices. There are currently choices in this district, and I think we can address some of those concerns in the way we designed it. I don't have a clear vision right now. I understand where you're coming from. I see it. It's one of my concerns too. But I think it's an opportunity to give parents more choices. And I think it gives English learners an opportunity to maintain their own language while picking up English, and it gives English-only students a valuable opportunity to learn Spanish. So I think the positive for me outweighs that concern. I don't believe it to be an elite. It doesn't have to be an elitist program. And I think some of that can be addressed through the way we deal with the recruitment process, the way we set up the waiting list or the screening process.
But you can't have that just through, even if it's not an elite program to begin with, it becomes one through attrition because people move away. People are going to get tired of the program. People are going to drop out. There are all these things, and I would be much more in favor. I mean, I think having a second language at an early age is really a good thing. I don't think anyone argues against that. But what I'd be supportive of, I mean, and we haven't even studied this, would be to start offering some sort of second language at an earlier level than we do now. Because right now we just offer Spanish in the 8th grade. That's the earliest we offer it. So if we're really after, if the ultimate objective, besides the biliteracy part, which I think is a noble goal, is just acquiring language acquisition and becoming at least bilingual or exposed to language at an early age, where it becomes an easier thing for your brain to absorb. I think we should explore, some sort of language class, or I don't know if every day or multiple times a week is an option. But I think that's something that we should. I mean, we really need to identify what our goal is here. Is our goal to, have a 2 or 3 classes, or 1 or 2 or 3 classes of bilingual students, or do we really want to be able to offer language acquisition, or the ability to have exposure to Spanish or other languages at an early age to all of our students, and not worry about the notion of having a class that becomes smaller over time. That's something that I think we should discuss.
I understand the equity issue. I understand that, but I don't think you can beat immersion in terms of learning the language. I think a language class,
I agree
there's
with
no
that.
way
Well,
you
no,
can
I
compare
I
it to
agree
an
with that,
immersion
but
class.
we're only offering it to
I
certain
understand.
students. And what if you say you're not interested in kindergarten or first grade, but you say, okay, I want to, a student says, I want to start learning, or a parent wants to expose their child to language at first or second or third grade,
So I want to make it clear that just because I made the motion doesn't mean that I don't still have unanswered questions. I just needed us to kind of get
No,
something
this
on the
is
table. But I agree that immersion is research-wise, that's how you learn a second language. And I'm totally with you guys on your concerns. But I feel like we have to do something. I think a 2 kindergarten and 2 first grade class is way too big of a risk for us right now. I think that the key is the informed consent of the parents, and that they know they're taking that risk, and are willing to take the consequences of that risk. And I think if we don't try it in some form, then it's never going to get to a district-wide kind of. It's a huge philosophical education shift for this community. I'm excited about it, but it's going to be a decade before it's worked out. I can tell you that. And some of us aren't even going to be sitting here anymore. So, so there's talk about pressure, right? I mean, we want to do what's right for children, and I think it was a Lou Grant parent who emailed us, right, and said, think of children first, then think of teachers, and then think of the school and the community. So
And I think
we know this is good for children.
Yeah, this program, if implemented well, and I stress that we have to plan it, implement it well, can be a draw. I mean, for people to consider carpentry as, someplace where they want to send their children. And
Unfortunately, that's not a benefit.
I
to
know
us
you were going to say
No,
that.
it is.
But
Well,
to
it is. I
me,
mean,
it's
listen, we have to
community
be-
building. It's
it is
community building.
community building,
And
but we don't.
I so
it doesn't-
strongly.
It's not a
not.
revenue generating thing.
Not
It's
everything
more.
about money, Andy. Sorry.
That's all right. I already have that hat on. So
See, I would be more in favor of putting it back to administration to bring it back to the sites, to have them look at it and see if they want to develop it into their LCAPs and their site plans, and with the idea that we would potentially implement the following year in 17-18.
So if we take a vote on this
So,
motion,
yeah.
and then someone can do an amended motion.
No, we can amend your motion.
You can amend my
amend-
motion.
Did you just make an amendment
Are
to the
you
motion?
amending?
Are you amending the motion to 17-18?
Wait, I think we have one more comment.
Oh, okay.
So you can formulate your amendment.
Good evening again. Thank you. I just have one thing to say to address the class size issue because I know it's huge. I have several friends that I've talked to about this already. And the thing about class sizes with dual immersion, again, I taught it for 8 years, you can add native speakers at any point, K-5. No problem. In fact, they thrive because they come in and they're not forced to speak English. They have their native language, which they're comfortable in. They learn the basics of that, and they're using that to transfer to English. I have students at Santa Barbara High School now that are thriving that came from Oaxaca in 5th grade, 6th grade, and are thriving. So I just want to add that. So this 24 cap is not a problem because we constantly have native speakers coming from Mexico, and actually helps when you have native speakers. So there can be an amendment to the DLI master plan that says if class sizes dip below 27, 24, whatever we decide, we will add native Spanish speakers. You can add them, again, at any time. So you add 3 students that come from Oaxaca in 2nd grade when you see the feeling of 24 not being fair, or 3rd grade. So I just wanted to add that shouldn't be a concern because this is something that is proven, especially in Utah. They have several cases where I've read. Again, they started at 1st grade in Utah, and they add native speakers throughout the entire program, and bilingual students K through 3. So that can be resolved. Thank you.
That's a good point of
That's a
information.
good point.
Okay, so do we want to vote on this, or do you want to amend Michelle's original motion?
Well, I'll add an amendment. I'm just trying to think how I want to word it. I would amend the motion to include the potential establishment of this program in 2017-18 with district recommendation. After it's been taken back to be considered in each school site's LCAP and site plan. I don't know if that's very clear or concise.
So it'd be represented under the LCAP and single site plans instead of a standalone.
Say that.
So each site would incorporate the dual language immersion program into their LCAP and single site plan.
Yeah. Now let me ask a question or maybe a clarification, because I don't expect that to be in this year's LCAP, because you're working on those right now and you're at critical time right now. So this would be something to be established in the LCAP for next year.
May I, for a point of clarification, where these two documents have their nexus and the relationship therein? The LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan, is the district, the board's plan, the strategic plan, the vision, the focus, and guides where we place our funding for achievement of our students to meet the 8 state priority goals. And if we are to study the dual language immersion pathway throughout the next year, say, for example, that would be one of our goals, is to study it and then relate it to one or more of the 8 priority areas of the state, therefore with the intention of implementing it at a K or K1 level. The school site plan then should align with the LCAP, and we're all getting better at that across the state as we become more LCAP savvy and knowledgeable and feeling more efficacious with it. My concern, though, because I've heard you say it's a district program, if it ends up in the conversation in the school site council single plan for student achievement, now that creates a disconnect, because now we're saying Okay, so what are you going to do with this at your site? So while I very much respect the role of the school site councils and the electoral process and that being the governance team of each school with their allocation of funding, I'm just concerned that we're setting up we're misguiding the councils.
Right. And that makes sense. I understand what you're saying. I guess maybe you can help me here, because what I'm trying to get to is that it becomes a district program with each school having some buy-in into the program. Does that make sense? How do we get there?
And getting buy-in, or at least some comfort and better knowledge, and helping our staffs, whether they be classified or certificated across the district, and to include directors and supervisors, because again, we want our management, whether they be classified or certificated, to know what we're focusing on. I think this would then become, following your conversation, and so I'm not guiding or recommending, I'm commenting that as your superintendent, what I see happening is a district-wide committee becoming the operating procedure, and so that this committee, representative of various constituents within the district, and to include parents, perhaps from the parent advisory committee of the superintendent or some other mechanism, then work on this throughout the whole year. Then they report back to their sites, be it through the leadership teams, department chairs, or the school site councils, even to include the e-board during our bargaining process with our partners in terms of the information and updates, so that we have more people knowledgeable about what's going on and can speak to it in the community as well. I think that's essentially the spirit. I hear you.
Yeah, and that is actually,
Okay.
that sounds much better.
Okay.
It makes a lot more sense to me. So I'm going to withdraw my
We
amendment.
need a new motion.
Yeah.
So let's vote on this
Yeah.
one.
Okay, so restate your motion.
Okay, so the original motion was that we would move forward with a pilot in K and first grade at Canalino for the 16-17 school year.
Was
Is
it
it roll
16,
call?
17? Yeah. No, this is a, yes. Well, we can do roll either way.
Let's do roll call.
Roll call.
Alicia?
Nay.
Jacqueline?
Aye.
Andy?
No.
Terry?
No.
And I'm yes. So
Three to
3
one,
to
3 to
2
2. Opposed.
opposed.
Okay, so, can I get another motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I move that we establish a district committee to further study and make recommendations for implementation of DLI pathway, and that they report back to their individual sites and the board throughout the year for the potential of a 2017-18 implementation.
Gosh. Oh, second.
You have a second there? Are you seconding that?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Can you just read that one more time?
So Terry wants, okay, her motion was to establish a district committee to further study the DLI pathway, and then report back to each school site and the school board with the idea that we would start the program in the fall of 17-18.
Okay, so they're to study, report, and if it's feasible, to start
In
17,
18.
Okay, got it.
I'm supportive of that.
Was there a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Michelle seconded
Okay,
that.
thank you.
You ready to vote?
Okay, do it in more discussion?
And who would be on this district committee? The current committee, or?
Sorry, okay, thank you. I humbly request that would be appropriate for me to work out with the team and with the eventual new staff that may be coming in. Certainly, I would ask that we open up the opportunity at the beginning of the year, and so that we start at the beginning of the year and we set up a schedule. We have facilitation, a process, we report back. I would like to see this, if it passes, as the superintendent's committee for the dual language instruction. That way we have a clear message going forward, and then be here to report back throughout the year on progress, all of the things that we've collected over time, and additional comments that or questions, answers, and to the extent that we also report back at the various parent committees as well at the sites.
Great. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Alicia,
Aye.
Jacqueline,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
All right.
Thank you. Therefore, I understand that I will be inviting and convening a committee to study the dual language immersion pathway to begin the committee and its work in the 16-17 school year. And we will open it up. Typically, my experience has been I like to invite anyone, and those that really have a passion for the work come, rather than identify specific categories of people, especially in our small district. And small districts that's been successful. In larger ones, we can identify grade levels and, all of those other things. But and I welcome the opportunity to work with our bargaining partners if they wish to assist me in that launching and the inaugural meeting. We will work with our principals, of course, and we'll be reporting back to you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight.
Thanks.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 3, a review of the district K-5 boundaries and street directory.
Yes, and thank you so much, trustees, for requesting this at a former meeting. Fortunate for us, the calendar is such that Mari is able to join us tonight. Unfortunate for us, our dear Jolene is away attending to family matters, which is appropriate and where she needs to be. So having said that, we will partner with Mari this evening to share with you some work we did with respect to the boundaries that would increase attendance in the Aliso school. And we have some handouts for you, and so I'm going to pass this off to Mari. And we do have extra handouts here for the for our partners and audience. And Ms. Minier, if you would assist with that, I would greatly appreciate it. There are 2 handouts for you. They look a little bit the same because the coloring is the same, but they're actually different. One shaded area of pink is larger, and then there's a smaller section for the Dahlia Court addresses and properties. So with that, Mari, thank you for joining us.
So we have the first packet at the bottom. I apologize that you got caught off at the bottom, but it says Dahlia Court assigned to Aliso, and it's just the you can see the original boundaries for Catalino and Aliso, the yellow faint mark there, that's for Catalino, and the pink is for Aliso. So then one of the proposals that Micheline talked about was adding Dahlia Court to Aliso. So that is that one. And then the other one is going even a little bit further and adding this whole neighborhood between Aragon and the freeway in just through Azalea Court. So just at that little neighborhood there to Aliso. And then in the packet you can see the numbers, the difference in numbers for enrollment for each school and how the class sizes would look like.
Oh, Catalina. So the proposal is Dahlia Court is one proposal, and then this whole neighborhood would go to Aliso.
Okay.
No. Would you like to open the discussion, Terry?
I appreciate this, and as Michelle just said, I think it's important to note that this does make things, at least numbers-wise, more equitable.
Yes.
My concern is that I really do think we still need to look at what it does demographically, as far as English language learners and such, because I know in years past we've adjusted our boundaries because one school became very imbalanced. And we need to pay attention to that.
Okay. We can do a further study too.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
this is a great
information.
start, is what
from
I'm saying.
From
it's
a
great start.
numbers point of view, this
Yeah.
makes sense. But I know that in the past, we made a lot of these adjustments that seem unnatural as a result of that imbalance in demographics.
Right,
And,
at
and I
this-
just don't want to make, I want to make sure we're not, I would like to ensure that we're not kind of recreating that, that problem again,
Yeah.
or that imbalance. I
Right.
shouldn't say problem, but that imbalance.
So we need to look at our English learners, and we need to look at our socioeconomically disadvantaged and how that, in either one of these scenarios, what that does to each school.
And where it is now, you know, I think
Yeah.
I think we compare it to where we are currently, with those categories, and then what we're gonna what these each of these proposals would how they would affect that.
Right. I think at this point, we just wanted to give you numbers to look at and
Yeah.
see how many students are affected, and then from then we can dig deeper and give you more information.
And I want to say personally, when I know a number of us have brought this up, but my concern arose when we were talking about DLI starting next year. And if that's not since it's not starting next year, we have time to look at this. So it's not like a immediate critical issue, but I think it needs to go in conjunction with.
Well, we should resolve it before.
Well, we can, but I mean, I don't know that staff has time to do all of that before. I don't know where you are with this year. I know you have a lot on your.
We don't know.
All I'm saying is.
That's what we're asking. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm
that
sorry.
this
I
might
don't mean
not
to
be
make light of it.
No, but
It is. It's a good moment to have a little humor. So
You have a lot on your plate,
Oh, and there's-
and
we do.
without
Everyone
the
does.
implementation next year, all I'm saying is, I think we could look at this for 2017-18, not necessarily 16-17.
The other, I guess, piece is how many are at the respective schools that currently would then be out of boundary. So there'd be a
Right.
transition anyway, right, over the
Right.
years as students moved on to the middle school.
Because we're not
So-
going to pull students. that
No, we're not
started
going to pull
at one
students from their
school.
home school, so.
Right.
But
Yes.
so newly enrolled students, it would
Yeah.
affect.
Yes, and in fact,
Yes.
Mari and I were speaking about that, and we thought then perhaps if it came up, one of the things to consider would be an effective date, or to have a waiver, say, for 4th and 5th graders, because that is challenging, and then to understand that when the street address and the assignments change, that it is with the X incoming or the 3rd grade, or
Yeah.
whatever that
4th and
is,
5th are-
certainly effective with the class of, et cetera, because I think that it's really hard for kids to then separate out again. This is a very interesting process for me, having never done this in a small district, numbers-wise. So I did speak with Mari, and she had explained to me and was fair in saying that in the past you've looked at income and ethnicity and language. And honestly, I am impressed with that because I don't know how those are constant factors. I mean, so I'm very in awe of this process, to be honest with you, because I think that our community is so fluid anyway nowadays. So if we did not provide the full information, it was because I kind of dug my heels in a little bit with Mari, and I said, I just think that there's more diversity than we think anymore, and so I apologize beforehand. That shouldn't reflect on Mari. We can certainly bring that back together. She's an excellent colleague and partner. So anything you need, just let us know succinctly and directly so we can make sure that we're prepared for it.
I have a question. Have the previous board looked at moving some of the Canalino area district towards Summerlin, spatially in NEP, so I don't know how that
That'd
would
be
work.
Aliso.
Would be
district.
Aliso, so it
Because
wouldn't be-
Aliso is you're talking about.
Don't talk to me about maps. I can't visualize that.
Summerlin currently
Right,
is
it's
at Toro Canyon.
Right. So move it towards the, what is that?
Not ever.
Craven's Lane.
Not ever
Night
Craven's
River,
Lane.
Is that the
Well, if you
mobile home
yeah,
area? Would that be-
Craven's Lane would incorporate Sandpiper.
Has that ever been considered, just to move some of the population towards Summerlin?
Years ago, we looked at it. Hasn't been looked at recently.
Is that something that,
We definitely
Is there
looked
an
at that when
argument
we
for
thought
or
we were
against?
building a school on Toro Canyon. The
you think it
intention
would- it
was
would-
to move it to at least Night Ever and probably Cravens.
so you think it would be too much of a movement towards
It
Summerlin?
would probably
There's not
overwhelm the
overcapacity.
district, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, evening out, when you talk about
Mm-hmm.
income and population size, and we can, some of that towards Summerlin.
It would be coming from Elisa, though. It wouldn't be
Oh,
coming from
okay.
Catalina.
Right.
Yeah. So it would probably, if you did this and did that, you'd have a more of a I guess a disparity.
I see,
Yeah.
okay.
Because, the Dahlia Court is subsidized housing, so it's low-income housing.
Right.
And most of this neighborhood are rentals with high density rentals, even though they're single-family units. Okay.
May I spoil the milk a little bit? It can be buttermilk or yogurt if you like, so it could be a good thing. We just want to make sure also that we're cognizant that at the second meeting of this month, David Winiger and the architects will be here to present to you a broad stroke architectural presentation of the plans so far and with some very loose preliminary budget, because that's the beginning of an opportunity to give you a mid-year report. We know that the staff and families of Catalino feel the pinch with respect to the campus and the footprint and what is available. And there's so many other balls in the air right now with regard to the family school location, and we're studying every piece of land that we have for that, essentially. And then we also have our special education classes and where we might place our new class of the Therapeutic Learning Center. So I don't want to pressure anyone. I just want us to keep in mind that we may need to do this regularly now in light of the Measure U.
So you're looking, what you're saying is you would like us to have some, maybe not tonight, but you want to have some kind of determination here so that we can move forward with architectural plans that are representative of the population size of the school. Yes,
and again, never doing this in a small district in terms of the numbers of the students, 2,400 students versus 18,000, or in a large geography where there is no question about where you go to school. I think, in my humble opinion, that the decision for the street directory needs to be made with or without the DLI in question, because again, there will be some movement. So I do think that it has to come first, because we don't know what that will look like and where it will end up anyway. And it could be in every school, or I don't know, no school, or a brand new school, or part of family school, or.
So I'm fine with that. I just, I only said that because I didn't know how much we were throwing on your plate at the end of the year, okay? So I'm absolutely fine with it not being in conjunction with DLI.
Okay.
I absolutely think it needs to happen prior to
Yes.
DLI. But I personally am not. I think it's very important that we still look at the demographics and what it does to each school.
Yes, very good.
And I mean, is it unreasonable to think you could have that next meeting or in 4 weeks from now, Mari?
No, that should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
There's
come
not
back.
a lot of students we're talking about, so it should be fine.
Okay. I
But
mean,
are these the areas or the neighborhoods that you would like us to focus on, I guess? Yes. Good?
Yeah, I mean, those are the easy.
Perfect.
I mean, without skipping around like we've done in the past that we're trying to get away from, where you have carve outs. We don't want to do
Yes.
that.
Okay.
So this is probably the highest density, easiest spot to readjust
Okay.
in the district.
Great. Well, Mari did a great job. That was with her wisdom.
Not this version, this version.
Yeah, I would say. I mean,
The big one.
I would say, yeah, to
The
go back
Aragon,
and look at
Dahlia
Aragon and Dahlia
Okay.
Court. Yeah.
Yes. We concur.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Wonderful.
All right.
Good.
You're on again.
Oh, hi. Great. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. With respect to the superintendent's report, okay, well, there's always so much great news to
You
share.
could create this with a pause in there, like somebody else could talk. And then
Who else would that be? Cindy, do you want to talk?
Cindy's up next.
What? I don't get to talk? Wait a minute. I'm the superintendent. That's all we ever do is talk, right? Great. So I already told you about the upcoming board meeting where the director, David Winiger, will be here with Robert Robles and Joe Wilcox, and we will present again very broad strokes, mid-progress report, and a very preliminary budget and scope. I would suspect at that point in time that you probably would want more time with it, and so we'll take direction from you with respect to a study session or any other way that you'd like us to proceed, and we're really excited about this. I was thrilled to be with my team at the Partners in Education on Friday with a teacher, Amy Bryant, and Erin Hansen, and Principal Gerardo Cornejo, Wendy Bingham, and our very own Mackenzie, our student. And she just wowed the audience. Mackenzie is such a joy and so elegant and so eloquent, and she spoke from her heart, and we can be very proud of her along with Anna as well, and all of our students shine. The Partners in Education was really excited about the topic of Get Focused, Stay Focused, and it aligns with the volunteerism and the mentoring opportunities, and we look forward to our upcoming mutual board meeting with the city coming up at the end of this month, and the topic will be Get Focused, Stay Focused, and we're taking that show on the road because, you know, it works, and so why reinvent it? So you'll have the opportunity to hear Mackenzie speak, and I was speaking with Anna earlier because I'd like to involve her as well, and we also have Noelia, who is one of our Student of the Month recipients from the Elks Lodge, and so we have just a number of great students. I'm looking for one of our gentlemen who would also like to speak from his perspective. So I am truly honored that Girls Inc. has invited me truly on their dime, and it's just overwhelming, the support to ask me to join them on Saturday in Atlanta for the National Girls Inc. Conference, and I will be there through Tuesday. So this is a fabulous opportunity. And we also attended the Girls Inc. luncheon, and Michelle was there, and Holly Minier was there, and our students, Anna and Noelia, were the presiding hosts. So that was a very wonderful opportunity to be part of that, very overwhelming in a really great way. Don't you think, Trustee Robertson? It was one of the highlights, definitely. And finally, I was graced to participate in the Summerlin Science Night last week, and I want to thank all the families and students and our teachers who made that a successful event, and thank you to Principal Minier as well. So that's my brief report this time. Of course, we continue to work on LCAP, and that's, I think, the part that is more keeps us very, very busy. We have done an amazing job with our updating of the current goals with the leadership of a variety of our principals and instructional leaders. Now we're shifting gears a little bit to focus on the new goals, as I have mentioned. So there's nothing outstanding to report at this time. It's in progress. It's a lot of work. Yeah. Cindy.
thank you.
So most of the Measure U update you've already heard, in that at the next board meeting there will be a presentation showing you, we'll be highlighting all the work of the site committees. So campus by campus you'll see the conceptual drawings and broad brush beginnings of budgets, because sooner or later it's all about money. So that will be the beginning of, having a lot of discussions and decisions about our sites and our priorities and all of that. Also next week, Tuesday the 19th, we have our meeting of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. So we'll be presenting all of the latest financial data for them to review. And I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move all the way down to H, Business Operations, Facilities, and Warrants.
You're not doing public comment?
Do we have any public comment?
I move we approve and ratify the warrants for March 17th through March 24th, 2016 as presented.
I second.
Great.
Alicia got that one.
Oh.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, move on to gifts and donations. The board is being asked to accept the following. Item 1 is a donation in the amount of $19,800 from Highland Santa Barbara Foundation to the Carpenter Children's Project and Thrive. And item 2 is a donation in the amount of $150 from Island Brewery to the Catalino After School Program. Outstanding.
I move that we gratefully accept the gifts as presented.
A second.
Thank you to Highland and Island Brewery. That's
Mhm.
great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Move on to item 3, the Hour Zero Emergency Preparedness Program proposal. And
Yes, we're back. The item was tabled from March, and then we had subsequent study session. And at this time, I recommend that we purchase and adopt the HZ Premium Package, which is the middle ground to start conservatively, since we are where we are in this time of year and considering our expenditures. This would include the license fee of $10,000 and then an annual support maintenance fee of $5,000. For the fiscal year currently, the total cost will be $11,250, which consists of the $10,000 one-time license fee plus a prorating of $1,250. We are excited to have this opportunity to request your support because we look at this as the upcoming beginning of the school year when we have our staff back for the PD days. One of them would be ideally an overview and the launching of our Hour Zero program. So thank you for your consideration and allowing us to bring this back to you. And it's great that we can offset some of the costs with the CISC insurance safety credit.
okay, do I have a motion?
I move we adopt and approve Hour Zero as the district's emergency preparedness program.
A second.
All right. I am highly in favor of the program. I think, you know, I was lucky enough to meet up with these folks at the CSBA conference and was duly impressed. And then I'm really happy that Mr. Hotchner and Mr. Gloger have been working. I mean, hats off to both of them for working so hard on this and putting it all together and doing the early phases of implementation and getting the plan together. So good job, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
So yeah, that's a good thing. I think it's going to really help us. It's going to take some load off of staff and allow them to focus on things that they're better at, and we're going to end up with a plan and a program that's better than anything we could create. All right. So everybody all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you. So move on to item I, Measure U. And we're being asked to accept a contract with Colby Technologies for construction, finance, software, and support.
I move that we approve the contract with Colby Technologies for construction, finance, software, and support.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board communications. Alicia.
I think I've said it all already today.
Jacqueline?
Summerlin School had a great spring social, and I just want to take this opportunity to recognize a staff, Hannah Henline. She practically chaired. I think she chaired the event, and she walked all over the main street of Carpinteria and Summerlin to get donations. And it's so amazing that a staff volunteer her time to help build community, and it was a great program, a great event for family and kids. So thank you, Hannah.
Mm-hmm. She's amazing.
She is amazing.
I said enough tonight, too.
Me too. I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. All right. We'll keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing for the calendar?
Other than our mutual meeting coming up with the city.
Yep.
And the representatives are Trustee Jacobson and Robertson, correct? And the 28th of April, correct?
Correct.
at 4:30.
4:30.
Yes, very good. It's going to be a very busy evening. We're glad that we were able to make it work with your schedule because we're focusing on get focused, stay focused. Gerardo Cornejo and Amy Bryant will need to return, as well as our student probably back to the school for the open house. So we're going to be very efficient.
All right. Okay, so we're going to adjourn and reconvene in about whenever, I don't know when, maybe 10, 11 o'clock, and report out on our closed session.
And have great news to report, right? Okay.